The human immune system. These are our frontliners and the first responders of the body. I'm going to discuss with you an overview on the function and the components of the immune system. The presentation is prepared to educate everyone on understanding how the human immune system works in an overview approach. What are the effectors, suppressors, and modulators of the immune system? Sino yung nagsistimulate, na pumipigil at nagbabalanse ng immune system? What is the right immune response? Yung tamang pagresponde. What is the consequence of delayed immune response? Ano naman ang mangyayari kapag hindi agad-agad rumisponde o merong delay? And what is the danger of heightened immune response? Ano ang mai-experience ng ating katawan kapag sobra-sobra naman mag-responde ang ating immune response? So a little of something or an overreaction is a dangerous response. Now, we are aiming to create an appreciation and support better understanding on how our immune system works once it is agitated with villains such as toxins, viruses, and pathogens. So the viruses, toxins, and other microbial organisms such as bacteria are the dangers that we need to get away from the outside environment. We have an immune system that should be ready, alert, and ready to defend us from these villains. Understanding immunity. Immunity is a special biological skill of resisting pathogens and toxins in order to protect the body against the occurrence of disease. It's a special biological skill, meaning to say isa siyang talento or isa siyang kapasidad ng ating katawan na magdepensa. Okay, now it is very important or critical because it should be carefully executed. So, a little execution or too much of its execution is dangerous. So, it should be carefully executed. Now, what is the right pattern of executing the correct immune response? Ito po yun. There should be an early recognition of toxin or pathogen. Kailangan alerto siya at nire-recognize niya kaagad-agad yung pumapasok na toxin or pathogen. Once it's recognized, there should be a right amount of inflammatory response. Kasi an inflammatory response is already a signal that something is wrong or a danger is encountered inside the cell. So, now, once this is done, namagana, inflamed na, there should be a production of right amount of cytokines and chemokines. Cytokines and chemokines are the chemical messengers of the signaling substances of the immune system. They are the parang 911 ng immune system. They call for help for other immune cells to join their force to protect the body against this danger that they have encountered. Now, once this is done, okay, there should be, when they're already there in the battlefield, there should be a right degree function of the immune cells. So, dapat tama yung strategy ng kanilang pag-defend. And then there should also, while they're doing that, they should allow the right timing of pathogen destruction and toxin elimination. So, dapat hindi masyadong mabilis, hindi masyadong mabagal, yung tama lang hanggang sa ma-eliminate nila yung toxin or yung pathogen. And then, the very important thing is it should allow the immune system to immediately recover after the invasion. Because they have to be ready again for a second wave of invasion should there be. Okay, a second wave of such invasion. So, dapat makabangon sila kaagad after their duty. Now, what we need to avoid or what we shouldn't experience as an immune response of our immune system is the following. Number one, delayed immune response. Because a delayed immune response can lead to an immunodeficient immune system. Meaning to say, naunahan siya ng mga pathogen or toxin, hindi ka agad-agad na-recognize. So, nandun na nakapasok na sa cell, dumamay na sila, madumi na yung cell. Kaya yung cell makaka-experience ng pathological sepsis. This might pose a danger on the cell's machinery, leading to cell death. Okay. Number two, prolonged immune response threshold. Ito naman ay tinatawag na cytokine storm. Okay, rumisponde nga pero sa sobrang excited na mag-respond, sobrang mag-recognize, sobrang mag-produce ng inflammation, lahat sobra. So kumbaga naging OA siya. So ang naging result, sobra yung na-release niyang signaling molecule. So na-switch on niya lahat, pati yung hindi dapat mag-switch on, nag-switch on din. So naging OA yung immune system. These are the two things that we need to that our immune system should avoid in executing. So we have to train our immune system in executing the correct pattern of immune response. Immune system. This is a system that is composed of group of cells, chemical substances, organs, and complement system, which is usually composed of proteins that act as frontliners of our body's defense against pathogen as well as toxins. They do not only defend the body against non-self protein or antigens or pathogens. By the way, pathogens are also known as antigens, but it also recognize and keep a record of these pathogenic villains, so the body is alerted when it comes back again to cause harm. Meaning to say, sila yung mga grupo ng cells na nagsama-sama para depensahan ng katawan natin sa mga pumapasok na toxins at pathogen. Meron silang sistemang ginagamit. At isa sa mga sistema na ginagamit nila ay ang pagme-memorize, pagtanda ng kung sino yung mga pumasok para wala ng second chance, wala ng second wave. Now, the main aim of execution or of this system is to execute the proper immune response upon pathogen invasion. So the organisms would not exhibit any pathologic symptoms of the disease. Meaning to say, kailangan nilang magresponde kaagad para yung cell na sinasakupan nila o yung katawan na sinasakupan nila, wala siyang mai-experience na symptoms na dala ng toxin o danger ng pathogen na pumasok. So the slide will show you the different cells and the types of immunity that what is found in this system. So ang cells na to ay nadi-divide sa ganitong function. Meron tayong mga identifiers o yung mga detectors. Okay, sila yung nagdi-detect ng kung may danger na pumasok. Meron din tayong tinatawag na macrophages, or ito yung mga eaters ng mga pathogens or toxins. Meron tayong killers or natural killer cells na sila talaga yung nagdi-destroy and eliminate ng mga pathogen na pumasok. And then meron tayong mga memory cells. Memory cells are the ones that keep a record of these pathogens that were encountered by the cell. And these, they function accordingly kung anong klaseng immunity ang i-execute ng ating katawan. The next series of slides will show you the different immune response team that exhibits the different levels or different levels and types of immune response. Now, the very first responders to invasion is this type of immune response called physical barrier, or also known as barrier immunity, meaning to say may barrier. So the physical barrier is divided into three. We have the anatomical barrier, which is our skin, the mucous membranes. Mucous membranes are the PPE of our internal organs. They're found in the respiratory system, digestive system. Most of the systems of the body are being covered by these membranes. May PPE na sila. And then we have the cilia. The cilia is like a, what do you call this one? Finger-like projections, parang walis, which is found in our nose and in our ears. They drive out any pathogen that enters this opening. Physiological barrier. Physiological barriers are the following. Yung body temperature natin, we are maintaining a certain body temperature because if it's too low or too high, it means something. Our stomach acids, they remain at a certain pH level so that the bacteria that we encounter when we eat, like raw or anything na may pathogen, the stomach acid is there to protect us against the harm or the toxins they produce. Our sweat is also acidic in nature, which also defends us against pathogens that we encounter from the external environment. And then the third, we have the chemical mediators or the chemical substances. Okay, these are actually released by the cells to remove or eliminate these pathogens or toxins. Example, we have enzymes. We have a lot of enzymes. The main function of the enzyme is to degrade or sirain yung structure nung isang pathogen in such a way na hindi na siya makafunction kasi sira na siya. Then we have lysozymes. These are special enzymes inside our cells that destroy actually the pathogens, which you will be learning more later on. And then we have the interferon, a special protein that is antiviral in its effect. So these are our physical barriers. So when the pathogen enters the skin, tries to enter the body through the skin, through the mucous membranes, tries to interrupt the body temperature, or tries to fight the enzyme, ito kaagad ang magre-responde. Itong mga physical barriers natin. So what you're seeing here now on the slide is a demonstration of the physical barrier or the barrier immunity. Now as you can see, a virus is entering the barrier. So, pumasok siya dun sa barrier, but what happened? Agad-agad, yung immune system or yung immune cells ng barrier immunity, trinap na siya. Okay? So, nakikita nyo, trinap na siya, hindi na siya kayo nakapagsabog ng kanyang toxin doon sa cell. So, agad-agad, napigilan. Because nakikita nyo, habang pumapasok siya, meron nang naka-ready, naka-alert, kasi na-recognize na siya sa labas pa lang na kalaban siya. Our second team of responders is known as the innate immune system. This is composed of proteins or the complement system, which is composed mainly of proteins, and the leukocytes or the white blood cells. Now, the innate immune system is named as is because it is already our present frontliners from the time we were born. Meaning to say, nung tayo nilabas ng ating ng nanay sa mundong ito, active na itong innate immune system natin. Okay, it contains the following cells, the different cells of the white blood cells, nakikita nyo yung nandyan, and then we have the complement system. So ito yung mga proteins na signaling substances. It is also known as a non-specific immunity. Bakit siya non-specific? Kasi wala siyang pinipili. Hindi siya choosy pagdating sa mga pumapasok na pathogen. Lahat ng pumapasok na viruses or bacteria, whether it's big or small, it has spikes or walang smooth ang kanyang edge, lahat nilalabanan nila. So that's why it's called non-specific immunity. Now this will act once it reaches once the pathogen breaches the physical barrier. Meaning to say, nakalagpas yung pathogen doon sa physical barrier. Hindi nakayanan ni physical barrier na idepensa dahil dumami yung puwersa ng pathogen. So, ang next to respond to that is the innate immune system. One of the important things that we need to emphasize on this presentation is the mechanism of the innate immunity. Now, we will be talking more about this as we go through our discussion because this is the most important form of immunity that we need to prime during this pandemic times. Innate immunity mechanism. So it goes through these stages. There is the recognition stage, the phagocytosis stage, and the elimination stage. As I've discussed with you earlier, the immune system is composed of group of cells that are divided into different functions. Okay, now under the mechanism of recognition, we have the cells that are detectors, okay, or the identifiers. So itong mga cells na to, ang trabaho nila ay mag-recognize ng pathogen or toxin na pumasok sa katawan. Now once they recognize that a pathogen or non-self substance has entered the body, they put marks on these substances. Kaya nila nilalagyan ng markers. So this mechanism is very critical kasi pag nagkamali sila ng pagmark, okay, mamaya malalaman ninyo, meron din niyang consequence. So dapat mamarkahan nila ng maayos yung pathogen na pumasok. Okay, because once the pathogen is marked, ang next na mangyayari dyan is magsisend sila ng signal sa ibang immune cells na tulungan silang mag-mark, okay, dahil maraming pathogen na pumapasok upang lahat ng nakapasok na pathogen mamarkahan nila. Okay. Next is phagocytosis. Now, Ang susunod na magtatrabaho ay yung mga macrophages. Ito yung mga cell eaters. Ang gagawin ng mga ito ay kakainin nila yung mga na-detect ng mga identifiers natin at yung mga nakamark. Yun lang ang kakainin nila. Okay, so that these pathogens that are marked by our detectors will not be spread throughout the cell, will not interrupt any of the cell mechanism, kaya nila kakainin. Okay, pag nandun na sila sa loob, anong mangyayari? Papasok naman ang mga killer cells. Okay? Dahil ang gagawin ng mga killer cells, sasabugan na nila ito ng mga toxins in the form of free radicals. They also have the reactive oxygen species or the free radicals that are found in these killer cells that will destroy these pathogens on the engulfed macrophage. So what happens is that sasabog lahat yung components nung bacteria, pati yung macrophage masisira din. Okay? So they will properly eliminate these substances para hindi na siya makaistorbo doon sa mechanism ng cell. So these three mechanisms are very important. Now, doon pa lang sa recognition, kapag nag-911 na ang mga identifiers natin at kapag nasobrahan yung 911 calls nila, nadamihan yung mga markers or detectors sa pagmamark ng mga pathogen, doon na nagkakaroon ng cascade of hypersensitized immune response, which is a very dangerous to the patient. On this particular slide, a demonstration of a virus evading barrier immunity is shown. Anong ibig sabihin ng evading barrier immunity? Nakalagpas siya doon sa barrier immunity. As you can see here, ang nangyari, merong virus na pumasok. Ayan, papasok na siya ngayon. And then what happens now is natanggal yung kanyang covering, sumabog yung kanyang genetic material. At itong genetic material na ito, dali-daling pumupunta sa nucleus. Kasi yun ang pakay niya. Isabog niya yung kanyang DNA doon sa DNA or RNA doon sa host na pinasukan niya. Okay, ngayon kung si barrier immunity ay napigilan siya dyan, katulad nung napakita sa inyo nung naunang slide, hindi magbubukas si virus. Papalibutan siya ngayon ng mga barrier immunity cells at doon na siya i-destroy. Hindi na nakasabog ng kanyang genetic material. So, what's happening here is that nakalagpas siya doon sa barrier immunity. So therefore, ang sasalo ngayon dito sa virus na to para matanggal siya sa katawan ay yung innate immunity. On this particular slide, we are demonstrating the innate immune response in action. So what you're seeing here now is the macrophage eating the mark pathogens. So nakikita nyo siya, no? Para meron siyang extension, meron siyang mga paa, okay, or parang dila, okay, na what you're seeing is a type of a macrophage. It's a cell, okay, that can have its extensions na para abutin yung mga na-mark na pathogens at kakainin niya yan. Pasok niya yan sa loob kasi nakita nyo nagkalat sila sa environment ng cell. Kailangan silang matanggal doon. Okay? And then maghihintay sila ngayon ng killer cells na magi-inject ngayon ng poison doon sa na-engulf na pathogen para completely ma-eliminate yung pathogen. So, this is an example of the activity of the innate immune response team. Okay? Sila ngayon ang sasalo ng ating kapag hindi masyadong na-perform or masyadong malakas yung pathogen na pumasok, na nalagpasan niya si barrier immunity. The next slide will show you the third type of immune response team, which is known as the adaptive immune system or also known as the acquired immunity. Now, this type of immunity will develop after an exposure to an infection. So, ibig sabihin, ma-activate lang itong immunity na to kapag merong papasok na pathogen na nakapasok na nung una. Okay, sila yung una magdidepensa ng body. Kapag bago pa lang yung pathogen na papasok, hindi pa siya nakakapasok sa katawan, bagong-bago siya, okay, ang unang-unang magdidefend ng ating katawan ay si barrier immunity. Kung nalagpasan niya si barrier immunity, ang sasalo sa kanya si innate immunity. So si innate immunity, malaki ang trabaho niya para puksain itong first-timer na virus. Now ngayon, kung si first-timer na virus ay nagkaroon ulit ng second wave of entrance sa body, Kasi nga, wala siyang pinipili. Okay? Pag nalagpasan niya si barrier immunity, ang next na magpupuksa sa kanya ay si adaptive immune system, because the adaptive immune system has created what we call antibodies that will kill, or that will initiate the killing of these pathogens. The antibodies are also known as the immunoglobulin. So, probably narinig nyo na yan, yung immunoglobulin. Immunoglobulin is also known as the antibody. Okay, this type of immune system is composed of the cells known as the lymphocytes. And these lymphocytes are divided into two functions. We have the T lymphocytes, which are the cytotoxic or killer cells, and the helper cells. Okay, and then we have the lymphocytes, the B lymphocytes. They are the ones that produce the antibodies. Now, the antibodies are very important in a process known as virus opsonization. What you're seeing here now in the model is, or in the illustration, is a form of a virus opsonization, because the antibodies coat the virus so that it becomes more tasty to a macrophage. So nakikita nyo yan, yung mga antibodies dyan, yung Y-shaped na drawing, yung virus, yung bilog na merong spike. So ang ginagawa nila is kinocoat nila yan, or pinapalibutan nila yung virus para ipasa ito ngayon sa mga macrophage na T lymphocytes. Para si T lymphocytes, makita niya na, oh wow, may garnish si virus, ganito kainin natin. Okay, so that's the purpose of one of the purposes of the antibodies that is produced by the B lymphocytes. On the next series of slides, we will be talking about cytokine storm. Cytokine storm is found to be one of the complications of COVID patients. Okay, in biochemistry, a cytokine storm is defined as an oxidative stress caused by viral infection. So what you're seeing here is an image of a cytokine storm. So this is an immune cell, okay, the first image. The second image is an immune cell that has released cytokines and chemokines. This is the correct amount of release when it needs to call assistance on similar immune cells. Ganyan lang dapat siya mag-release kasi that is enough to send signal. Now, the third drawing is a very excited immune cells o hypersensitized immune cells in such a way na nung nagmamark siya or nagre-recognize siya, na-excite siya masyado, nakapag-produce siya ng sobra-sobra at maraming cytokines to the point na nag-storm yung chemical signals doon sa cell. And as we all know, the reason why it's called a storm or it is a storm, it's because it causes havoc doon sa cell. Imbis na nagde-defend siya and at the same time, nagka-create ng havoc. Na to the point ang nangyayari na i-ignore na si defense yung havoc na yung na-experience ng cell. Okay, so what is a cytokine storm? So let me read to you this slide. So our immune system, as discussed a while ago, is placed in our body to respond properly and defend us against invading villains, whether it's toxin, bacteria, or viruses. But sometimes it goes rogue, excited, as it becomes an oxidative stress to the cells, wreaking more havoc than the disease itself. So, therefore, it triggers an escalated immune response. So, because of the abundance of the released chemicals, cytokines, it causes now an oxidative stress to the cell itself. Now, cytokines are biological chemicals that stimulate cell communication. 911 nga na tinatawag natin. Their release is very helpful in initiating a normal immune response like inflammation, just like the second drawing on our previous slide. However, if they are engaged too much in such response, yun nga, na prolong, the immune cells itself is accelerated to cause damage to the cell. Overproduction of cytokines creates high level of inflammation, so prolonged inflammation. Cytokines will be everywhere in the cytoplasm of the cell and interfere with the normal cellular machinery. Yun nga, dumadami yung cytokines na hindi dapat dumami. So what happens? Interleukin-6, prostaglandins, TNF-alpha has been shown to influence cytokine storm. So these are the substances. We will not be tackling that kasi maraming mga chemicals na nag-boost or nag-i-effect ng production ng cytokines. So there should be a suppressor or modulator para hindi mag-over-react or mag-escalate yung immune response. So that's why we have the effectors, the suppressors, and we have the modulators. Kailangan may nagbabalanse. We have these substances in the form of, like this one, interleukin types, prostaglandins, and other form of proteins and glycoproteins in our cells that would try to balance the production of these chemical signals para hindi masyadong mag-hyper immunity. Now, the storm affects the major organs such as the lungs, the heart, and the kidney, causing pathologic symptoms such as difficulty in breathing, fever, difficulty in breathing as such that life support interventions are needed to stabilize the patient, especially those infected with the nCoV-19 viruses. Kasi nga, na-dysregulate na yung cell, nagkaroon na ng stress. So therefore, makaka-experience, imbis na magdidepensa, na-i-experience na ngayon ng tao yung pathological symptoms. Now, in this phase, the immune system is no longer a good help to the body as it itself is causing more damage than the virus itself. So, meron ng dumi, yung cell, nagkaroon pa ng overreaction, kawawa si cell. So, one approach to control this storm is to down-regulate or block immune effectors such as the interleukin-6, prostaglandins, and TNF-alpha or the tumor necrotic factor. Okay, kasi ito yung tatlo na po pwedeng mag-cause ng cytokine storm. May nag-activate, no? Yung cells natin may nag-activate ng mga ito. So kapag na-activate ito, kailangan may mag-down-regulate, nagbabalanse. Now, what is good here is that we have certain substances in the form of phytochemicals, antioxidants that modulates the function of this interleukin prostaglandin so as not to influence the overproduction of cytokine. Okay, so this is what needs to be avoided, yung overreaction. However, for some reason, hindi rin ma-explain ngayon bakit nagkakaroon ng cytokine storm. Kasi nga, complicated nga yung ating immune system. But there's only one thing that we can do if we are not yet affected or if we remain healthy, we haven't encountered the the nCoV virus, the nCoV-19 virus, is that we need to train our immune system to do the balance. So we have to practice healthy living. So when we practice healthy living, our systems are being trained to perform their functions very well. Okay? Kasi kung nagkakaroon ng unbalance, ayan na. Diyan na ngayon masusubukan ang ating mga system. So here, when our immune system is going to this type of response, mag-escalate na siya. Ibig sabihin, nasubukan yung kanyang kakayanan. Hindi niya nakayanan yung pressure, nag-cytokine storm siya. Okay, this slide shows you how cytokines are produced. So what you're seeing here right now is an immune cell that is trying to engulf, eat the pathogen or toxin that the cell is encountering. Now, na nakikita nyo na sobra na siyang na-overwhelm, nahihirapan, so nag-release siya ng cytokine. So nakita nyo yung ni-release ng cytokine is enough to signal other similar cells na tulungan siyang kumain kasi hindi niya kakayanin. Now, kapag sumobra yung kanyang ni-release na cytokine, ang dami ngayong pupunta dyan na cell, so kakain sila no, ng mga, to the point na pati yung hindi dapat nila kainin or hindi dapat nila i-process, pinaprocess nila. So, it will cause more harm to the cell than defending it itself. Okay, so this slide shows you what a cytokine storm is like. So just like the figure that we showed you in the previous slide, ganyan siya. So for lack of an image that we can research to present in this slide, we just got like a picture of what a cytokine storm is. So nakikita nyo dyan, no, nandyan yung itong mga maliliit na bilog dito sa unang image, ito yung nag-influence doon sa immune cell na mag-produce ng maraming cytokine. So, dapat itong mga ito may nag-modulate, okay? Para hindi mag-over-respond si immune cells. Okay, what we need to know right now is that there are 4 phases of virus-host interaction according to a study under the Functional Medicine Journal. Okay, these 4 phases are the following. We have the prevention, the infection, the cytokine storm, and the recovery. Okay. And also, in each phase, there should be an appropriate intervention. Now, number one is prevention. Prevention is being taught worldwide by WHO, CDC, DOH, everybody, local government units, lahat yan, tinuturuan tayo to stay healthy, stay home, stay healthy so that we are prevented from getting the virus. Because it is an old adage, and it still is a good one to practice, is that prevention is so much better than healing because it saves the labor of being sick. When you get sick and you get the infection, you have two directions. You could either recover from the disease if your immune system is okay or not, right? So if you are preventing transmission or preventing yourself from getting the disease, you always have one direction. Healthy ka, okay? Number two, infection. So ito, hindi na natin ito mapipigilan because you already got the virus or the pathogen. So you are infected. So sabi dito, why are infectious disease doctors the best ones today? Because they're the most cultured and sensitive. Okay. Kasi, ibig sabihin, dito nasusubukan yung immune system. Okay? Dapat ang magtrabaho dito ay yung innate immune system mo talaga kasi na-breach na niya yung barrier. So, yung innate immune system mo dapat meron dyan effector, may suppressor, may modulator. Okay? Para mabalanse lahat ng response na gagawin niya against doon sa toxin ni COVID. And then we have the escalating inflammation. No, this is what happens when na-excite na ngayon si immune response. Dahil sobrang pressured na siya, stressed na siya, mag-create na siya ng cytokine storm. Now, nervous and agitated cells tend to overreact kasi nga nape-pressure. Okay? And then what's good thing is that some people that have undergone experience a cytokine storm can recover because they have modulators in the body. Okay? Na napigilan yung pag-storm, pagbagyo. Okay? Nung mga cytokines. So there's recovery. Now, according to this, sabi nung isang saying, I understood myself only after I destroyed myself. So, doon at least subukan mo na yung innate immune system mo may konting malfunction. Kasi nagkaroon ka ng cytokine storm. Now, it is very important and very critical in these 4 phases ng sinasabi is, ito talaga ang kailangan nating isaulo, is to not get the virus. That's very critical. Okay? There should be no virus-host interaction in the first place or to begin with. Let us not get the nCoV-19 virus. Okay, earlier we talked about the 4 phases of virus-host interaction. Everybody is educated on how to prevent the virus from entering the body. So we should be very, very compliant and very religious in following the prevention techniques. Kasi once we disregard it, okay, what happens is we can get infected. Now here is a statement coming from the functional medical practice is that when the body starts to acquire the virus, immediately the macrophages goes to the rescue, okay? And the innate immune system is activated. Okay, innate immune system is responsible for sweeping off the virus from controlling the body. Now, if the innate immune system ramps up faster than the virus can, we get it under control. So what you're seeing here in the figure is that the yellow graph or the yellow part is the response of the immune system. The orange is the virus. So what happens now is nag-ramp up ng mas maaga si innate immune system kaysa kay virus. So in effect, ano ang nangyari? Nagkaroon tayo ng milder clinical course. Okay, wala tayong masyadong cases kasi si innate immune system na-boost natin. Nalabanan natin si virus. This is a very ideal response. On the next slide, it will show you that there is an evidence that the SARS-CoV-2 attacks the macrophages. Okay, so even if our innate immune system is already doing its job, destroying the virus, the SARS-CoV still attacks the macrophages because the virus potentially attacks the macrophages directly, impairing the innate system to ramp up to protect the cell. Kasi yun yung trabaho niya. Ang gusto niyang mangyari is mas maging boss siya kaysa kay macrophage. So, pati si macrophage, pinipilit niyang atakihin. The macrophages needs protecting against the virus because the innate immunity is overload to begin with. Or, what happens here is there is a delayed response dahil yung katawan yung taong nagkaroon ng infection ay meron siyang poor nutrition, may zinc deficiencies, and so on and so forth. Now, if you can't get a response quick enough to help the macrophages, then the virus would seriously incur its control over the cells. So in this diagram, what you're seeing right now is that yung orange dyan, yung tinatawag na viral titer, ito yung colony ng virus na pumasok sa cell. Sila agad yung dumami. At nag-immune response nga si innate immune system pero hindi niya malabanan, hindi siya makataas, hindi siya nag-ramp up. Mas mataas pa si virus. So what happens, there is more extensive disease, meaning to say na mas naka-experience ng maraming symptoms ngayon itong na-experience na ng symptoms itong si pasyente. Now, if this happens to, say, sabihin mo 10 people in a community, edi lahat sila may COVID case, diba? Because their innate immune system is not, trained. Why? They have poor nutrition. They have deficiencies in of the immunomodulators na dapat nilang na-acquire from the food that they eat. Okay, inflammatory response is a natural immune response, but it has to be appropriate inflammatory response. As we discussed earlier, dapat tama lang yung inflammatory response. Hindi dapat delayed, hindi rin dapat prolonged. Because it should not be the outrageous one, because that's where it gets to a dangerous inflammatory cascade in the form of what we call a cytokine storm. So, ayan siya. So, kung proper yung inflammatory response, acute inflammation lang. Kapag sobra-sobra, ito na siya, chronic inflammation. There will be an endless production of cytokines. Now, cytokine storm response would most likely put patients into critical condition to death at this point, especially with the COVID-19 virus. Now, the approach should be to downregulate the excessive inflammatory response. So if you are already, if a patient is seen to undergo a cytokine storming because of the infection of COVID-19, they should administer a substance that will downregulate the cytokine production. Okay, modulators yung tinatawag. So as you can see here in the model is, yung nasa baba na green, dapat ganun lang dapat yung inflammatory response kapag tayo ay na-infect. Now, kapag over or outrageous yung inflammatory response, nakikita nyo naman dito yung red, yung may arrow na green, sobrang taas to begin with. Ito yung baseline natin, yung over responsive ay doon sa bandang taas na, yun na, magkakreate na siya ng cytokine storm. And the patient, if this is not down-regulated, magkakaroon na ng organ failure because it will affect the machinery of the cell, the tissue it belongs to, and the organs. Kasabay-sabay yan, hindi lang naman isang virus, isang cell, marami yan na pumapasok. Remember, they are miniature particles, they're smaller than the cells. So they have to treat or they have to down-regulate the cytokine or the inflammatory response. Now, your body should have the complete set of these substances to train your immune system. Okay? Actually, you have that. The only thing that we need to do is, since we are accustomed to this life practices, this behavior, naging dormant sila. Naging dormant sila for a long period of time. Okay? Ang isang tao, kapag halimbawa ikaw, health buff ka, okay, mahilig ka mag-exercise, okay, for how many years, and then at some point in your life, tumigil ka sa pag-exercise mo. Diba? So, anong nangyayari? Nagkakaroon ng response, nagkakaroon ng effect sa katawan mo yan. Now, to the point na imbis na dapat active ka or imbis na dapat mabilis kang kumilos and matagal ka nang hindi nakakapag-exercise, minsan mabagal ka, hindi ka na ganun ka alert kumilos. Kasi kailangan gisingin yung mga muscle mo muna. Unlike noon na nag-exercise ka, lahat ng muscles mo, lahat ng alertness mo ay responsive. So that's also, it's the same way with the immune response. Okay? If you're not training them or if you're not equipping them with the proper effectors, the proper suppressors and modulants, nahihirapan sila. Mag-OA sila madalas na mag-respond kasi, nagpapanik. O kaya, minsan may pumasok, yan na naman, hayaan mo na, kaya naman, ganun. Okay, may mga ganun na response. Versus, kapag ang immune system natin ay laging alert. So, in short, we have to train our immune system well. How? Let's be healthy. Be healthy. So thank you very much for your time in listening to all about the human immune system. I hope I have achieved, or we have achieved, the objective of this presentation. This is part 1 of 3. I hope you have gained better understanding on how our immune system works. This is just an overview. There are different pathways. Of course, hindi na natin kailangan i-present yun because they are too scientific and too very medyo komplikado. But this is the best that we can provide you in order for you to understand and appreciate your immune system. You have to know your immune system so that you would understand why these preventive measures are being taught to us by the government, by the organization, the authorized organization, so that we can avoid getting the nCoV-19 virus. Our next slide will talk about the virus as an overview, and the last presentation will be tackling on equipping our immune system, which is very important. Welcome to our part 2. I'll be talking about the villainous virus, or what we call the invisible intruders. What are viruses? The word virus is of Latin origin, which means slimy liquid or poison. It is considered an entity or a cellular because it is not an organism. It doesn't have the parts to make a living organism. They do not respond to stimuli in their surroundings. However, they infect a host in a parasitic way and use the host mechanism to replicate viral progeny. So their main purpose is to control the host cell so that they would use the machinery of the host cell for them to replicate a lot. They are smaller than the cell and they are generally covered with protein. The first covering is called capsid, and on top of the capsid is another covering called envelope, and then on top of that is another covering called spikes. Some of them only have capsid, some of them have capsid and envelope, some of them have capsid, envelope, and spikes, so depending on their types. Okay, the spikes help them attach to the host cells. So the spikes are examples of the covering of the coronavirus or the nCoV-19 virus. They carry either an RNA or DNA. So we have the RNA viruses and then the DNA viruses. They're inactive once outside the cell because they depend on the host cell. They come in different shapes and covers or envelopes. Now, most RNA viruses infect humans. The coronavirus or the nCoV-19 virus is an RNA virus. Now, the question most of us are asking is that why are viruses dangerous? Now, once inside the cells, they start making copies of themselves very quickly, outpacing the immune system response. So the key here is not to let them enter the cell, because once they are inside the cell, they gain control of the entire cell machinery. So what happens, even if the immune system will be outpaced. This rapid replication can cause cell death and spread of virus to nearby cells. So once they gain control of the cell, they will kill the cell itself. Okay, that's one of the cycle that they undergo. It's called the lytic cycle. As you can see in the diagram here, the green object or the green representation is the lytic cycle of the viruses. Okay, some viruses replicate by integrating their nucleic acid with that of the host cell genome, leading to chronic illness or malignant transformation and cancer. There is another cycle which a virus undergoes. It's also called the lysogenic cycle. In this one, the virus will combine its DNA to the host's DNA. So as you can see there, the violet figure, if you will see it injected its DNA to the DNA of the host cell. So nung nag-divide yung host cell, kasama na sa DNA niya yung DNA ng virus, waiting for an instruction of ano mangyayari ba sa kanya, magta-transform ba siya, okay, or magkukos ba siya ng chronic illness. Now, the viral genome has a controlling nature that once it is inside the host cell, it causes the host cell to switch to the virus's instruction. The virus is very dominant kasi nga ini-instructan niya yung cell machinery. So, ito naman si cell machinery nagsasubmit doon sa dominance ng virus. Now, the cell will now help the virus replicate and ignore the cell's normal machinery. Now, such alteration creates a signaling response to the cells that something is wrong, and the cell affects its immune response. Now, the coronavirus is dangerous because it penetrates the body via entrance to membranes covered with ACE2 receptors. You have probably heard this in the WHO or CDC reports, no? Any parts of the body that is covered with ACE2 receptors, yun ang point of entry ng nCoV-19 virus. So where can you find these ACE2 receptors? These are present in the membranes or the PPE of the major organs, such as the lung tissue, the heart, the kidney, the liver, and so on and so forth. Now, once it binds to the ACE receptor, it will enter the host cell expecting to perform its purpose. That is to replicate rapidly and multiply its progeny. So an example of entrance or the one with ACE2 is yung nostrils natin at saka yung mucous membranes natin sa bibig. Remember, ang nostrils natin is part of the respiratory system. Meron dyan mucous membrane. Ang ating bibig is part of the digestive system. Meron dyan mucous membrane. So whenever there is mucous membrane, there is ACE2 receptors. Now, the virus is attracted to the ACE2 receptor. So dun sila pumapasok. So that's why it is very important for us to cover our nose and our mouth because that is the point of entry of the viruses. In this particular slide, we are demonstrating how virus enters a host cell. Now, as you can see here in the model, this is an example of a virus with a spike. Say, for example, this is the coronavirus. So, what you have shown here is yung spike niya, okay, nag-attach doon sa green nung pula. So, yung pula na yan yung mucous membrane na may ACE receptor. So, yung ACE receptor na yon, yung green, okay, pinapasok niya ngayon or in-entertain niya ngayon si virus. So, once inside, what happened is that nakita nyo na yung kanyang genetic material, sinabog niya. Okay? So, this is an example of a demonstration of how virus enters the cell. So that you can see bakit importante ang ACE2 receptors. Kasi ang ACE2 receptors ang point of entry, ang pintuan ng coronavirus. So we have to protect the structures that is rich with ACE2 receptors. Exposed structures are our nose and our mouth kasi these are rich with ACE2 receptors. Okay, this particular slide shows you what we call viral shedding. In viral shedding, ibig sabihin nito, nag-gain control na si virus doon sa host cell. Na unahan niya si immune system or si immune system hindi na siya naka-recover sa kanyang pagresponde. Nahihirapan siyang magresponde or i-control ang cell na kinasasakupan niya kasi dumami na, nag-divide na, nag-multiply na kaagad si virus. Now, dahil sa sobrang dami nila, hindi sila kakasya sa cell, they have to spread to the neighboring cells. So when the virus has gained control of the host cell and replicates rapidly inside the cell and its progeny needs to be removed from the cell to infect other normal cells nearby, that is called viral shedding. That is the start of the infection. Okay, infection kasi lahat na ng neighboring cells pupuntahan na ni virus. And this is very critical. Okay, here is an information from the WHO about novel coronavirus. It is called novel coronavirus or new coronavirus. It's because it's a new strain. Okay, it is also known as the SARS-CoV-2 or the severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2. It causes the coronavirus disease 2019 or also known as the COVID-19. So the virus is called the SARS-CoV-2 or the coronavirus, and the disease it causes is called COVID-19. Now it affects the respiratory system. Now the most common symptoms when you are infected with the coronavirus is you will experience fever and dry cough and then headache. Now, if the symptom gets serious, such as to the point that you will experience difficulty in breathing or shortness of breath, a pressure in the chest, or a pain in the chest, you have to seek immediate medical attention. Dapat alam ninyo yung number, di ba meron silang emergency hotline? Okay, and you have to call the doctor first before visiting the health facility kasi they might recommend self-quarantine or home quarantine. Okay? Unless sa kapag talagang sobrang hindi mo na kaya, then you have to go to the emergency section. So on average, it takes 5 to 6 days when someone is infected with the virus for symptoms to show. So ibig sabihin, meron siyang incubation period na about 4 before mong makapag-express ng symptoms. However, yung kanyang sa katawan, yung full impact niya sa katawan will take up to 14 days. So that's why we are educated, or we are advised to take a 14-day quarantine. Kasi only then that we will allow our immune system to fight the virus. So during that 14-day, pwede kang mag-recover, hindi na umabot doon sa pag-spread ng virus, hindi na siya mag-viral shedding kasi si immune system naka-recover. Okay, nakabawi. So, bottom line here is that we have to prime our innate immune system because it is what we need to combat the novel coronavirus. Okay, this slide shows about the different comorbidities that is being presented to the public and what is its danger to the coronavirus. When we say comorbidities, these are the individuals that already have underlying conditions. So, ibig sabihin, meron na silang sakit. So, they are the ones classified under the higher risk individuals that can be infected, that have potential infection for the virus. So ano tong mga comorbidities na binanggit? Ito yung mga may sakit na cancer, may hypertension, may chronic diseases, arthritis, diabetes, cardiovascular, and other forms of conditions, even pregnant women and babies. Okay? Why? Kasi nga, their body is already combating the underlying condition. If they will be infected with the virus, madudoble, especially those with chronic diseases. Kasi chronic, meaning to say, activated masyado ang cytokine, activated masyado ang inflammatory response. Okay? Baka masobrahan yung pagresponde ng immune system pag pumasok si COVID-19. So instead na mamatay siya doon sa ng virus, mamamatay siya doon sa cytokine storm. So these are the people that needs to be taken away or that needs to be protected against the corona or COVID-19. Because they already have an underlying condition. Pregnant women are very immune compromised, meaning to say their immune system is doing a double job, defending the pregnant person, the mother, and defending the baby inside. Babies are also part of the higher risk community. Why? Kasi wala pa siya. It has an innate immunity but it's very weak. It's still developing. So kailangan din natin siyang protektahan. Okay, what we should be familiar of is the DOH drive for COVID-19. Tatlo lang yon, okay? They're driving for a reduction in transmission, or let us reduce the transmission, reduce contact, and reduce vulnerability. When we say reduce transmission, kaya nga tayo may quarantine facilities at bakit meron din tayong home and self-quarantine is that if we are already infected with the virus, we have to be contained in a room. Okay? Para nandun lang yung virus, hindi siya lumipad or hindi siya lumabas, pumunta sa ibang lugar at maka-infect. That is reduced transmission. Okay, yung reduced contact naman is that we allow people to stay at home, to stay in the comforts of their home because the safest place that you can be during this time is your home. There, you will only contact yung relatives mo na you're sure na walang COVID. Okay? And if you go outside, kasi you have to buy something, and you have to buy your necessities, you have to cover your face, especially your nose and not your face, cover your nose and your mouth with a mask. Kasi nga, these are the point of entry of the virus. And then reduce vulnerability. Anong ibig sabihin yan? We have to strengthen ourselves. Let's stay healthy so that, because we cannot, right now, hindi nila ma-detect or hindi nila masabi kung saan talaga nanggaling yung coronavirus. So everybody is instructed, or everybody is advised to make themselves healthy. So, yan lang naman very basic. Let's reduce transmission. Kung meron kang infection or suspected ka na may COVID-19, magpa-quarantine ka sa appropriate facility. O kaya kung wala kang COVID-19, okay, nandun ka sa community na may COVID-19, doon ka lang sa bahay, stay home. If you go out, you wear the appropriate protection gear. Okay? And then, overall, everybody, whether you're infected, whether you're infected or not, whatever age you are in, you need to strengthen yourselves. You just have to stay healthy. Okay, we have to take precautions so that we can slow the spread of coronavirus. So in this way, our health experts will be able to, study kung ano yung nagiging dangerous effects niya and probably come up with a better, come up with a vaccine that we need faster. Again, thank you for listening to this presentation. This is presentation number 2 of 3, which is about the virus, the invisible invaders. Now you have gained understanding of the immune system and the invader, the invisible invader. What we are going to present to you next is all about the solution or the recommendation that we need to take for us to be careful, to stay safe and stay healthy in these trying times. So thank you very much for listening and thank you for your time. Okay, here now is presentation number 3 of 3. We are going to talk about the recommended regimen from our company Equicel. This regimen will be your invisible PPE, or also known as our personal protective elixir. So isn't it nice that not only we are wearing the personal protective equipment when we go out, if we wear mask or we wear protective clothing, but also to emphasize on the invisible personal protective elixir that we have inside our body so that we are doubly protected against the invasion of the viruses. The COVID-19 pandemic is producing challenges that threaten the health and safety of all individuals. Again, everybody is experiencing this, and it is our first time to respond, to make decisions and everything. It's everybody's first time. Now, to date, many of the care guidelines that have emerged for COVID-19 have focused heavily on treating patients once they have arrived at the hospital. Those who are not yet hospitalized, including known infected patients, as well as those who suspect they have the virus, are being provided with little guidance on what to do on their own before their symptoms force them into an emergency department. So advice is limited to self-isolation, hand washing, hydration, and watchfully waiting for dangerous symptoms to emerge that would prompt them to utilize emergency care. Now, our company Equicel is here to provide recommendations to address these threats in these trying times. We are highly suggesting nutrition, nutraceuticals, botanicals, and functional behavior and lifestyle changes to prevent, potentially reverse, and decrease the burden of complex chronic disease. We are encouraging everyone to engage in these recommendations that will surely support health and wellness drive. Again, one of our purpose is to bring back the balance for a long-term benefit. Now, what we're saying here is that the public is educated with what's happening with the patients, the recoveries, the cases, okay, and everybody is informed to hand wash, to do physical or social distancing, but not much is talked about people who are not infected on how are they going to support themselves to be more healthy. Now, our company is here to equip you with all of this information. So the next series of slides will give you a better understanding on how our products, Equicel products, natural products, nutraceuticals, and botanicals that we use in our ingredients would strengthen us better and to avoid this infection. Our recommended strategy in these trying times and moving forward, even if we don't have this pandemic, it is always our recommended strategy. We have to strengthen the host defense. Now, the host is us human beings because this virus is now invading the human population. I wouldn't use the term boost because if we boost our immune system, there is what we call the cytokine storm. Remember the outrageous immune response reaction. I would use the term strengthen because when we say strengthen, it speaks holistically. Okay, we will not only strengthen the immune system of the human being, but all of its system. We will activate it, we will alert it, and we will equip it with the proper nutrients so that when we encounter these pathogens or toxins, our body is ready to defend it, and so that we will not be experiencing any of the symptoms of the toxins or the pathogens that wishes to invade us. Now, our recommendation is to observe the following: functional behavior, functional lifestyle practices, and functional nutrition. Without these three altogether, we will not be able to experience optimum health and wellness. So it goes three ways. Hindi lang nutrition, hindi lang behavior or lifestyle. Dapat lahat ito sinusunod natin to achieve strength. Okay, to achieve our best defense against these pathogens and toxins. The first strategy that we will be tackling is functional behavior. It starts here, guys. It says that a lot of countries have recovered. They have a good recovery plan. They have good economic plan. They have good functional strategies in decreasing their COVID cases. It's because of their behavior. You know, as Filipinos, we are disciplined in one way or another in our own way. We tend to not comply with the government's measures. Now, everybody is asked here to comply with the behaviors or the discipline that the government is advising us to do, because it is very functional. It will help us. It is very simple, but it has a big impact. And these simple guidelines or simple habits that the government is teaching us are the very basic form of avoidance of virus infection, kasi this has been practiced for years, for decades, ever since the virus has been discovered. So it has been effective. Hand washing, sanitizing, disinfecting, covering your mouth and nose. You know now why it is very important to cover the mouth and the nose, because it is where the mucous membranes are found. Epithelial lining ang tawag doon. These mucous membranes are rich in ACE2 receptors. And you know that ACE2 receptors are the door for your viruses, the coronaviruses. Now, why do we use soaps, alcohols, and disinfectants? The ingredients, the active ingredients in these pharmaceutical substances are ester alcohols, and they are responsible in destroying the membrane of the virus, or the covering of the virus. They act as enzymes, so they destroy what happens, rendering the virus impotent. So the key point here is to act now, be vigilant and consistent in following these self-care habits, because we need to protect the skin and the epithelial lining to avoid infection. That's the first line of defense. Disinfect inanimate surfaces to eliminate microbial population and avoid pathogen contact. The next is to observe functional lifestyle practices. Now, act now for your functional behavior. On this one, you have to take action. Your body is the only place you have to live. Remember, it is you who owns that body. Now, we are recommending the following, because the following recommendations will help the immune system respond properly to these invaders. So number one is stress reduction or stress management. Now, both acute and chronic stress results in dysregulated and suppressed immune system. So, ang mai-experience ng tao dyan ay magkakaroon siya ng delayed immune response, suppressed eh. And there is susceptibility to illness kasi nga may stress. Yung mga chemical messengers mo, nagsabog siya. Okay? Now, as we all know, stress is our initial response to a non-specific change. Right? But we have to check ourselves. We have to have a discipline within ourselves. So emotional states, whatever we are in, we're happy, sad, lonely, and labile mood have been associated with immune suppression and viral shedding. So if you're already infected and you're still down or depressed, of course, we cannot avoid that. Okay? You're causing your immune system to be suppressed. Meaning, instead na mag-ramp up sila than the virus, sila ay nadideregulate. Okay, now, what we need to do is to practice relaxation response and breath regulation, because these practices results in favorable gene expression patterns that benefit the immune regulation. Okay, so you have to do that. Let's avoid stress. Think happy. Okay, number 2, sleep. Sleep about 7 to 8 hours, because sleep is inherently restorative and enables an internal resetting or regulatory of one's physiology. So for example, your immune system needs alerting. Okay, if you get this amount of sleep, the proper, adequate, peaceful sleep, then you are revived and restored. Yung immune system mo ngayon, nabuhayan. So get good quality, sufficient quantity, and adequate sleep, as this is important in immune maintenance and recovery from illness. Kaya yung mga napupuyat dahil sa kanonood ng Netflix or whatever it is that you're doing, you're also causing your immune system to be compromised. So if you stay home, nagstay home kang, di ba may mga nagkakaroon ng cases ng COVID even if they stay home because, they are stressed, they don't get enough sleep. They are compromising their immune system. So once the immune system is compromised, madali ka ng pasukan ng disease. Okay, number 3, we have to exercise. We have to remain active throughout the daily routine because it provides the movement the body needs to oxygenate. Kailangan natin ng maraming oxygen para magkaroon ng restoration yung ating mga cells, circulate blood and nutrients, and eliminate waste from cells, all of which are essential to immune system function as immunosupportive practices. So what we can do here, if we practice these lifestyle practices, we are supporting our immune system to be better. Tinetrain natin yung sarili natin pero hindi natin nalalaman na ang impact din niya is natitrain din natin yung immune system natin. So the bottom line here is to train yourselves, train your body. Okay, because there will be a good reward, a big impactful reward that you can get when you train your body with all of these functional lifestyle practices. And the third one is functional nutrition. Now remember, we have an invisible invader. Okay, our invisible invader affects our internal systems. Our internal systems receive the food that we eat. So this is very important. So we are training to act accordingly, ourselves to act accordingly, to make good lifestyle practices. Those are external. But at the same time, we have to have functional nutrition because ang sumasabak sa gerang ito ay itong internal system natin, specifically our immune system. Now, the food that you eat can be either the safest and most powerful form of medicine or the slowest form of poison. O baka lalo nyo pang kino-compromise yung sarili ninyo dahil yung mga kinakain ninyo pala ay attractant ng mga pathogens. Okay. Now, at this time, there are no specific vaccines or uniformly successful treatments for COVID-19. They are still, under the trial, and they're still doing some clinical trials on the which drug to use, which treatment to use to destroy the virus. Now, food and nutrition are major daily input for health and well-being. Now, there are 3 mechanisms involving the ability to reduce viral infection and severity. Okay? Marami yan, but we will classify it into these 3. Number 1, we have to balance the inflammatory pathways. Remember the cytokine storm. Okay? It says here that we have to avoid the American diet and switch to the Mediterranean one. Why? The American diet is very rich with, like burger, fries, mga fats, carbohydrates. Okay, switch to the Mediterranean one because the Mediterranean one is composed of, like mostly vegetables, plant-based food. Okay. Number 2, reduce oxidative stress and increase antioxidant levels. So what are the oxidative stress? Andun yan, yung sleep, yung stress mismo, lack of sleep, sedentary lifestyle, okay, can become an oxidative stress to your body. Even foods that are not well prepared or not properly prepared, they are what we call nutrient depleted food. For example, if you grill too much, yung ang tawag dito sunog will deplete the nutrients or will convert yung nutrients into a waste product as kinakain mo versus yung nutrient dense. When we say nutrient dense, ito yung mga even if you prepare them, hindi nawawala yung kanilang nutrition. Okay? And then number 3, you harmonize the gut microbiome. Meaning to say, yung ating, kasi dumadaan lahat yan sa gut, yung pagkain natin, kailangan dapat maayos yung gut natin. So we have to support our guts with probiotics and enriched dietary fibers. Now the key point here is to reduce or avoid food and food preparation practices that are immune offenders. Okay, so that is the key point for this one. Now the good news is Equicell. Okay, if you let Equicell become your partner for health and wellness, then you made a good decision because Equicell's product are fine-tuned or are prepared in such a way that you get nutrient-dense, nutrient-rich food supplements or functional foods that will help you become stronger, that will help you fight diseases better. So why don't you partner with us as we introduce to you our 1-month Equicell regimen. We are recommending the 1-month Equicell regimen because it plays a very important role in optimizing immunity. Now, the system that is very talked about during this time is the immune system. Now, the Equicell is recommending this regimen para ma-optimize yung gamit ng immunity. Pag sinabing optimize, hindi siya sobra, hindi siya kukulang. Doon lang siya sa tama at doon sa tamang pangangailangan ng tao. So if the person is already part of the comorbidity or if the person has chronic is part of the high risk individual, pag gumamit siya nito, matutulungan siya na i-optimize yung immunity niya. Because let's face it, our food and food preparations and the source of the food that we eat, hindi na siya safe. Now, the preparation of these food supplements are kept under safe conditions in such a way that the end user of this product will gain the correct amount, all the nutrients from the source. Important nutrients na kailangan mo para ma-build mo, ma-fortify mo yung body mo, especially all of your internal organs. So the components of this regimen are nutraceuticals and botanicals. When we say nutraceuticals, these are biologically active phytochemicals that possess health benefits. Kinuha doon yung mga active phytochemicals that will help optimize the immune system. It also contains botanicals, or these are plant part valued for its medicinal and therapeutic effects. So yung sources ng nutraceuticals ay kinuha doon sa botanicals. Kasi yung mga plants natin, may mga parts yan, okay, na mas therapeutic. So doon nila kinuha. So saan ka pa hahanap ng magandang source, magandang preparation at kumpleto yung laman? Only here in Equicell. And we have this 1-month Equicell regimen to help you prime your immunity. When we're talking about the nutraceuticals and botanical components of the regimen, the Equicell regimen, these are formulated all together to perform this key action. Okay, they turn the immune system and its co-partner cells and chemicals alert and ready to perform their specific role functionally. Now, when we say alert, we mean watchful. When we say ready, we mean prepared. Meaning to say that the components or the ingredients of this regimen will allow your immune system, the entire immune system, the cells, the chemicals, to be more alert and more ready. So what we're showing here right now is some clips of the Endgame movie. So nakita nyo, no? Ready sila, ang dami nila. Okay, they're ready to fight. And then when they assemble accordingly. So that is what we are trying to achieve here when we take the 1-month regimen, because that is the purpose of the 1-month Equicell regimen, is to make your immune cells function properly. Hindi kulang, hindi sobra. Kasi tutulungan niya kayo, tulungan yung katawan ninyo na i-fight yung infection. Not only that, it will give you enough nutrients to revive your body. Okay? Kasi ang mga cells natin, if they do not perform their role functionally and properly, it means may kulang sila, may deficiency sila. And we have that. We have the answer to your deficiency. Our main foundation for strengthening our defense as a host to these viruses is nutrition. So here's our support for our nutrition. We have the Spirulina filipina. The nutraceutical component of this is Arthrospira platensis. Now, when you take this, okay, you will gain a functional lifetime reward. Ito na yung makukuha mo. You will gain cellular nourishment and gut microbiome harmonizer. So see, because it is very rich with a lot of nutrients that will help you nourish your cell and will help harmonize everything in the gut. Kasi dadaan lahat ng pagkain natin sa gut. So ang gut natin kailangan magkaroon ng harmony para matulungan na mas lalong ma-nourish, mag-assimilate, or ma-absorb natin lahat ng importanteng nutrients. So what are the set of nutrients from spirulina? As you all know, spirulina is known to be the superfood. It contains almost all of the nutrients needed to support good nutrition. Now, here we are presenting the important nutrients that it contains in supporting the immune system. We have vitamins A, D, and B, which have functions that are very helpful to strengthen our immunity. That is very important. We have it in Spirulina filipina. You gain it pure. Okay, for example, vitamin D, it's also called the sunshine vitamin. Even if you go out and take a few minutes of early in the morning and you expose yourself to sunshine, you're not sure if you will activate your vitamin D in your skin. It's because the light that you get from the sun may not be the ultraviolet light, because we have a hole in the ozone layer already. Now, some of the people also who are quarantined at home do not get up early. So sometimes they miss the sunshine. So kung wala na silang makuhang sunshine, saan pa sila kukuha ng vitamin D? Okay, dito na lang sa spirulina. And they also contain minerals and micromolecules that are very important in, strengthening the immune system. We have the zinc, very important yan sa immunity. Selenium, very important din yan. Amino acids, fatty acids, and all of the flavonoids and phytonutrients which act as antioxidants. Okay? Ang antioxidant ng spirulina is very strong. Kapartner yan ng immune system natin. May immune system ka na, may antioxidant ka pa, saan ka nang, ikaw na ngayon ang hari ng healthy. Okay, so we have that here in our spirulina. The next one that we are trying, that is part of this 1-month regimen, is an antioxidant support. We have the berry orac. It is made from 17 berries. So listed in this presentation or in this slide, the different berries that it contains. Now, the combination of all of these berries produces a synergistic effect. They support and they amplify. Pinapalakas nila yung effectiveness nung kanilang nutraceuticals. And when they are taken inside the body, dahil na-amplify na sila all together, yung amplification na yun nadodoble sa loob ng katawan. So, therefore, nare-revive yung katawan because antioxidants are protective in nature. They protect the body against any stress or any infection. Kasama yan, kapartner yan ng, what do you call this one, ng immune system. So, what can you get from berry orac? You get vitamin C. Spirulina has no vitamin C. So vitamin C, where will you get your vitamin C source? Here in berry orac. The vitamin C here is very functional and very active. Now it is responsible for supporting various cellular function of the immune system. So lahat yan, cells, complement system, lahat yan sinusuportahan niya. Okay, these berries also contains quercetin, okay, which is known to decrease viral growth. It also contains N-acetylcysteine, which is an amino acid which promotes the production of glutathione. The glutathione is the most powerful intrinsic antioxidant. We have that in our body. Okay, so when we take this berry orac, meron siyang precursor si NAC na isi-stimulate niya yung production ng glutathione na para maging antioxidant siya. Okay, we also have the EGCG or epigallocatechin gallate or EGCG. Okay, this is an modulant for inflammation. It has been shown, okay, under the functional medicine studies, it has been shown to target one of the processes involved in the COVID-19 replication. We also have resveratrol because na component ng berry orac. Okay, isa sa mga function nito is attacks relative of COVID-19 virus. So since parehas sila, it might also attack COVID-19. And they contain also many ROS scavenging agents. ROS is a free radical in the form of polyphenols, flavonoids, and catechins that protect the cell against oxidative stress. They have numerous phytochemicals present that are potentially helpful in the immune system in stimulating the mediators or cellular signals. So sila yung nag-e-effect ng mga signals. And the phytonutrients in these berries are very cardioprotective. Lahat ng organs pinoprotektahan nila because they're antioxidants. So overall, the reward that you will gain when you take this is your cells will be protected because it is a cellular protectant and a cellular reviver. Number 1, you are already experiencing good nutrition. Number 2, you have good protection because of the antioxidants coming from this berry orac. One of the basic things that you need to know when it comes to cell nutrition and antioxidant is this. If the cells are protected and healthy, they have a perfect 24/7 routine of function and action. Okay, they are protected because they have antioxidants, and then they are healthy because they have the right amount of nutrients. So, spirulina and berry orac. So, if you expose them on a 24/7 routine, okay, they will perform their function accordingly and they act on dangers accordingly. Now, when cells are left without antioxidant, regulatory and signaling as well as nutrition support, they become completely agitated in the presence of danger. So what you are seeing here is a molecule that is agitated. When a molecule is agitated, nagpapanik siya. Parang tao lang nagpanik. So pag nagpanik ka, hindi mo alam kung ano yung response mo. Ikaw ba ay tatakbo o aatras? Something like that. Okay? So, what do we want to achieve here? We want to achieve the proper response or the proper health. Okay? So, if we are properly nourished with spirulina and we take the berry orac as antioxidant, remember it contains 17 berries, we have protection and we have nutrition. Our third product for the 1-month Equicell regimen is called Nutrimune. This product supports the NK or the natural killer cells and the T helper cells, or in general, it supports the innate immunity. Remember, there are 3 types of immunity that we have discussed earlier. We have the barrier, the innate immunity, and then we have the adaptive immunity. The barrier immunity is being strengthened by spirulina and the berry orac. Now, the innate immunity should be strengthened by this product, Nutrimune. Kasi remember, the bulk of the job for the fight for this invisible battle or invisible war that we are experiencing with COVID-19 is done by the innate immune system. Now, our support to that is the consumption of this functional product known as Nutrimune. The component is astragalus and olive extract. Now, the reward that you can get from this product is that it is an immune primer, meaning to say it primes, it alerts this immune system, the innate immune system, so that it can be ready and equipped to fight in the battle or in the war, the invisible war that we will be experiencing. What is found in Nutrimune? Nutrimune is very rich with immune-building nutrients. There are different flavonoids and phytonutrients. We are not going to name all of them kasi ang dami, but they are immune-building nutrients. And they contain adaptogenic agents because they allow the cells to adapt where it's needed. So for example, they need to down-regulate kasi OA na, they will down-regulate. Kung natutulog naman, they have to up-regulate the response as needed. So it's adaptogenic. They adapt. Okay, they allow the cells to be more adaptive to the need of function. That is very important kasi it serves as a modulator. Now, astragalus contains astragalosides and immunoactive polysaccharides that help prime innate immune function because it inhibits glycosylation and viral binding, promoting viral eradication and inactivation. So meaning to say, hindi niya ihina-allow na magbukas yung pintuan para kay virus. Kasi laging may pintuan niya na nagbubukas, so hindi niya ina-allow. So it inhibits glycosylation. Now, olive extract is very rich with elenolic acid. This one is responsible in inhibiting viral replication, viral shedding, and it stimulates the more phagocytosis, meaning to say more eating of these viruses to the point na walang nakakalabas. So therefore, sinusupport nila talaga ang innate immune system, and this is very good because the bulk of the job is with the innate immune system. So Nutrimune is very important in supporting our innate immune system. The next component of the regimen is an anti-inflammatory support. We have the EquiProtect. Now, the nutraceutical component of this is the essential oil blends of 10 organics and honey as the carrier. So as you can see here, the different, if you will look closely at the ingredients from 1 to 10, these are all very important in terms of regulating inflammation. Inflammation is one of the important response of the immune system because its spike, okay, can result to cytokine storm or chronic diseases. Its delayed response naman can allow the entry of the viruses. So this one is a support to that anti-inflammatory mechanism. Okay? Now, the reward that you can gain here is that you will have an immune modulator and viral replication inhibitor in the form of EquiProtect. One of the important ingredients of EquiProtect is curcumin. Curcumin has been shown to reduce inflammation and reduce viral activity in COVID-19. We have that in EquiProtect. Now, the essential oils have been shown to soothe throats by eliminating the irritants from the mucous membranes. The irritants are either dirts, particles, and even the proteins of the viruses. It prevents it from causing a cascade of immune response that might trigger a rapid hyperimmune response, which is we all know as the cytokine storm. Now, they support the immune function by dysregulation of viral replication, causing the macrophages to act on eliminating impotent pathogens. So, their function is to decrease viral replication, increase phagocytosis. Ibig sabihin, nira-ramp up nila yung activity ng immune system. At the same time, nire-regulate nila in such a way na hindi masyadong mag-hyper. Yung tama lang. So that is what we are going to get if we consume EquiProtect. It's in the form of an essential oil. So we use it no sa ating oral oral consumption. We get a drop of it, okay, 1 ml or 10 to 20 drops, 1 ml or 1 squeeze of the bottle, and you put it on your mouth because that's where the mucous membrane starts, okay, and it gives you a good protection. So overall, the message that we are trying to tell you in this presentation is strengthen yourselves in order for you to fortify your defense mechanism. How are you going to strengthen yourselves? You have to have the proper nutrition. You have to have a good support for your nutrition in the form of spirulina. You also have to have a good support for protecting the cell, which is an antioxidant in the form of berry orac. And also, you have to strengthen or fortify or prime your innate immune system, which you can get in the form of Nutrimune. Remember, the innate immunity has the most important job here in defending our body against the invasion of the coronavirus. Si innate immunity ang maraming trabaho dito. Nangangailangan sila ng maraming empleyado para makapag-perform sila ng maayos. Ang ating barrier immunity ang nag-take care na doon ay si antioxidant na berry orac at ang ating nutrition na si spirulina. And then, meron din tayong ina-avoid na pangyayari kapag nag-respond ang ating immune system. Yun ay yung cytokine storm. Okay, yung prolonged inflammation. Meron tayong modulator doon, si Equiprotect. So, covered na tayo sa lahat from barrier to innate immunity to cytokine storm. Now, why are we not touching the adaptive immunity? Remember, the adaptive immunity can only be strengthened or can only be activated when it after an infection. Nagtatrabaho din siya because meron siyang mga helper cells and cytotoxic cells. Pero yung antibodies coming from this type of immunity is not yet formed. It is formed kapag ikaw ay na-expose na sa infection. So kapag ikaw ay naka-recover na COVID patient, okay, at nagtitake ka pa nito, lalo kang lalakas kasi kumpleto ka na ng depensa. Kung hindi ka pa naman apektado, dahil hindi ka pa nakaka-contract ng virus, hindi ka na mapapasukan ng virus kasi kumpleto ka na ng protection. Now, the question is, what is the recommended intake for this 1-month cellular Equicell regimen? Our recommendation is to take these food supplements 1 hour after meal. So that is after breakfast, after lunch, and after dinner. So it's 3 times a day, 1 hour after meal. You need to take 4 tablets of spirulina 3 times a day, 1 capsule of Nutrimune 3 times a day, 1 capsule of berry orac 3 times a day, 1 ml or 1 squish or 10 drops of Equiprotect 3 times a day. For you to be able to get the correct amount of nutrients that is needed to support your nutrition, support your cell protection, support the innate immunity, and support against cytokine storm. So, saan ka pahahanap nun? Nandito lahat yun sa Equicell. Kumpletong kumpleto. In closing, I would like to emphasize on the recommendations of Equicell during this trying times. We are recommending actually 3 strategies. Okay, overall, we want to strengthen the host defense in the form of executing these 3 strategies. You have to exercise functional behavior. You have to follow the rules. Simple rules. Okay, safety protection. Number 2, you have to exercise functional lifestyle practices. So you get enough sleep, avoid stress, and exercise. Very basic. And then you have to also take functional nutrition. So you have to also carefully prepare the food that you eat, the food that you are selecting as your stocks at home. And supplement that with our 1-month Equicell regimen, which are functional food supplements that supports all of the defense mechanisms that we have in our body. If you take all of this, you have already not only the external personal protective equipment, okay, from the external environment, but you also get the personal protective elixir inside. So meron ka na doble na protection. Hindi lang doble yan. Times 100 pa yan. If you take it consistently, continuously, then you will be training your body to elicit the proper response when it comes to experiencing or encountering danger. So that's it. Okay? We strengthen ourselves for us to be able to be well protected, to obtain the balance that we need to get from our health, and to continue experiencing wellness. So thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the experience. And we hope that you gain a lot of takeaways from this presentation.
Equicell.